Call meeting to order. Approval of last month's minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve last month's minutes.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, today we have Jennifer Smith. Jennifer, we have.
Speak from here, is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, very good. Hi, I'm Jennifer Smith. I'm the Director of Development at the Family Peace Center. And I'm here today just to say thank you. We recently applied for a grant through the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus funded by ComEd. It's a grant program called Powering Safe Communities. And thanks in part to an in-kind contribution by RMTD made through your fund at the Community Foundation. You provided an in-kind support of 667 passes towards this grant. And all told, this grant will help us purchase $10,000 worth of day passes. We provide day passes on a case-by-case basis to our clients who are all survivors of domestic and sexual violence. So for many of them, transportation barriers are a significant quality of life issue. Whether they have a car or not, sometimes they're not able to access that car if the perpetrator, keeps it for whatever reason, right? So this grant, and thanks to your support, is a huge relief for many of our clients, and we are very deeply grateful. I looked back through our records and I could see, as far back as I could see, since April of 2023, the Family Peace Center, including this grant, will have purchased $21,000 worth of day passes. So that's 7,000 day passes that we will be able to provide to our clients. So again, I just want to say thank you so much for your willingness to contribute to this grant and help us receive this award, and for all you do to bridge transportation barriers for people who need help in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it. Happy to partner with you. Thanks for coming.
Very positive. All right, Michael.
Okay, thank you so much. Couple items of note on the agenda this month. First, I want to start off with an acknowledgement. She's not here, but we'll acknowledge her nonetheless. Susan Campbell, our Director of Human Resources Administration, is moving on to other opportunities. And so she's hurriedly putting together the last of her things for us before she departs here in the next week or so. And but wanted just to extend our deepest appreciation for all of Susan's contributions to the district over her 11 plus years with us. And, we're indebted to her, and she's been that servant attitude, public service attitude that she's been a lifelong worker within the public sector. And like I said, moving on to the private sector, but, staff and specifically me have relied on her for a great many things with the district. And she's just been amazing to work with, and we miss her greatly. So I just want to share with her our appreciation.
Many thanks to her. She's helped kind of bring myself up to speed on the years of work and that, and so much appreciated her patience and education.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, couple other things that we'd like to bring the board up to date on. Just again, government affairs section. Nothing really on the state side as they're out of session, but on the federal side, some activities going on there in advance of the September 30th, 2026 deadline for government funding. In July, the House passed HR 9770 to continue government funding through December 4th. The House continuing resolution does not include an authorizing extension of the Highway Trust Fund program or any of the advanced appropriations that we talked to the board about previously that are of concern because of how the IIJA is funded. Majority of the transit funding, particularly Apple to Bus, is split between formula and discretionary grants, and all the discretionary grants that principally fund things like the low-no and bus facilities program rely on those advanced appropriations. So without that, then programs like bus facility will be jeopardized in the next federal fiscal year until the new surface reauthorization, if and when it's passed, right? I mean, that's still a work in progress, but the continuing resolution is first and foremost to continue to fund the government. On that side, earlier this month, the Senate Appropriations Committee leaders released their own version of a continuing resolution to fund the feds through December 11th of 2026. The Senate version extends the Highway Trust Fund contract authority, but again, does not fund any of the advanced appropriations, which mirrors what the House had done. Just as note that advanced appropriation piece currently provides 4.25 billion annually for public transportation. With that being cut, that's approximately a 20% reduction in investment into public transportation funding that would apply to 2026. So that's just an update on that. Good news, bad news. There's work being done to get a continuing resolution done in advance of the September deadline, and obviously with the election season coming up, that's what everyone seems to be focused on. So that's good news, but once it's passed, it's going to have substantial impacts on what we're seeing. And then, once we get into the election cycle, then after that, we'd anticipate work to start on the Surface Reauthorization Act, which, where that falls, that's also a question in terms of how advanced appropriations would fall, and whether it will continue to look like the IIJA, which is doubtful, and whether what the new version will look like and how that impacts transit funding. Will be all things that we'll work on from the perspective of the American Public Transportation Association, which we're a member of, the Bus Coalition, which we're a member of, and then obviously the state side with the Illinois Public Transportation Association are all our advocacy arms that are all working jointly together to try to advocate for funding. So I want to give you an update on that. The only other note I was going to pass on the board, just to let you know, FTA will be on site to conduct our training review and Wednesday. So this is obviously every 3-year process where they come on site to verify all and review all of our programs that they're authorized to oversee. And so staff has done yeoman's work in getting prepared for that, providing advanced documentation for them to review. And so hopefully that all goes well. And we'll update the board on the outcome of that. If you recall, last triennial review was the first time since any of us can remember that we had 0 findings. So fingers crossed that we'll do as well as we did last time, but it is an effort. So.
I've been here 29 years and we've only had 0 twice. So, yeah.
All right.
So it's a 1-day review?
2 days.
2 days.
So they have the 2 days on site, and then they have a closing on September 2nd. So that'll be the closing section. And then after that, then by the September board meeting, we'll have an update for the board on where we're at then. So with that, then we can get on to the other part of the agenda, E2 Finance. First up, we have payment bills. Included in your packet were the AJHL services rendered through July 31st, and then Williams McCarthy services rendered through July 24th. Were there any questions on either one of those invoices? If none, then we can move on to the approval of accounts payable invoices. This month, the total is $1,266,742.03. The list of vendors and invoices and totals included in your packet. Are there any questions on those items?
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable invoices.
Second, all in favor?
Okay, great. Next up, we have the approval of the unaudited financial statements for June 2020. So memo prepared with those totals, and keeping in mind that's our end of the fiscal year 2026 totals. Xavier, any items you should touch upon?
I pretty much outlined everything in the memo. If you guys have any questions, we were about $2 million under budget for the year. But that, has to do with, as I mentioned in the budget, just being under for some of our projected service changes that were projected at the beginning of the fiscal year that didn't happen until the second quarter, as well as some retirement and departures of long-term higher salary drivers. And then we hired 16 new drivers in the last fiscal year. So there was savings with salary from that as well.
And nice to see the demand response ridership being higher.
Jumped up for the month too. Yeah.
Yep. So there's no further questions. We have a motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the unaudited financial statements for June 2026.
Second, all in favor?
One other item I'll mention related to that, auditors were on site, our financial auditors, State Utility were on site, last week to begin, the audit process for the next fiscal year. So getting a good start on that, and, obviously that'll move along and ultimately end at the audit presentation in December, so. All right, with that, then we can move on to item C, which is the pension portfolio review through August 18th. The pension investment statement for the month ending July 31st. Here is Jeff DeBenedetto from DeBenedetto Associates to give us an update.
Thank you, Mike. Nice to see everybody. Thanks for having me today. In your packet included is a new summary. As you might see, we have implemented our new software, which is a little more streamlined. So going forward, you'll see the calendar year to date and the fiscal year to date information on one page. We're still tweaking how these reports will look moving forward, but we have a good starting point here. So in the middle of the page, in the upper left-hand corner under components and change, you'll see year to date, we started with just under 35 million. One half of the pension contribution has been funded so far, 625,000. Under withdrawals, you'll see that's the pension obligations year to date. And then we have unrealized and realized gain and income from our bonds for an ending value on the 18th of just under 37 million, with an investment gain of $2.542 million. Just to the right of that, then you will see the fiscal year. So starting July 1st, we've only had $185,000 worth of pension payments. And then again, gains and income for the same ending balance, and positive year to date on the fiscal year. And then that is represented just to the right of that as a percentage in portfolio returns. So the quarter to date is the same as the year to date because we're just in the first quarter of the new fiscal year. And then year to date, a wonderful return up 7.32%. So the markets have continued to provide strong equity returns. Bonds have been flat. Down below under asset allocation, you can see that the portfolio is positioned just over 40% with bonds and cash right now. The remaining being equities of different size and style types. Any questions on that page? From there, I'll just give you an idea of kind of what's been going on. As I alluded to, the second quarter was really strong performance after we started the year, and we began the war in Iran. We've kind of been hot and cold with where that goes to where it sits today. The economic data has supported strong equity returns, as well as this AI kind of euphoria that continues to happen. We have rebalanced twice already this year. So that is selling stocks that have done well and then replenishing on the fixed income side, so that when we have some volatility, we're prepared for it, as well as making sure that we can fund the pension obligations. And we will continue to do that through the end of the year, even with the second payment to the pension. I suspect we will see some more volatility in the second half of the year. I think that the data will start to show that inflation is creeping back, and that will slow the economy a little bit, especially if the Federal Reserve has to start inching interest rates back up. So we're keeping our eyes on that and continue to adjust the portfolio as we see that. But all good news for now.
Thank you.
Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you. All right, sir.
All right, moving on then to E3, operation, maintenance, and facilities. Within your package is operations report. Dan, you want to walk us through the updates?
Sure. If you remember correctly, last month we had some issues with our numbers. So this report has both June and July numbers. So as you can see, June was up quite a bit compared to June of 25, and overall for the year at that point we're 3.6% higher than we were in fiscal year 25. Pretty much same story for July, which is obviously the start of our new fiscal year. So we were up 5% July to July. Demand response, we were 12% higher July to July, and obviously the same, pretty much same math for the year to date since it's our first new month. New operator training, I think we have a group of 4 paratransit drivers starting, right after Labor Day. Which will be helpful there. We've had some people leave and some people move over to fixed routes, so we definitely need to get Troy some help in that department. We'll skip the update on the fall service changes for right now. Fixed route and paratransit maintenance stats. Again, we have 2 months because we had some trouble getting everything put together at the end of the fiscal year. So, and you will report, you have both June and July numbers in there from George. All the vehicles are done per maintenance plan, and we've been in good shape with spares and everything. So, facility wise, staff, a lot of bus stop sign work continuing, and we are putting a shelter up at the new Rock Valley campus down the street. T's got that all laid out, and we'll probably get down there in the next couple of weeks, I think. So, just kind of in time for them to get back to school, we should have that shelter ready for them to use. So. They were kind enough to pour the pad and everything for us, so it makes it a little bit easier. We just gotta assemble it down there. So, facility expansion, everything is moving right along again on phase 2. They're still saying the end of this calendar year we should be complete on phase 2. Couple things on phase 1, just a couple little things that have come up. We have started training over there, and we're starting to slowly move some more stuff over there. So. We're working through some door access issues with our contractor, but we're pretty close to the finish line on having that resolved. So once we get that, it'll be a lot easier to manage because everybody can use their badges instead of, we're not handing out 200 keys. So to get everything done. So once we get that going, we'll be able to get in the fitness room and start using the training room and some other amenities over there. So, and then we did include our contractors. Our owner's rep report like usual in there. Going back to the update on planned fall service changes. Mike, you want to take that or you want me to take it?
Yeah, I think we've reviewed where we're at from a manpower standpoint on our fixed route side, and just based on where we're at in the calendar, there's no way we're going to meet the number of people that we need to implement by fall and sustain that change. So at this point, because what we typically see over the holidays as well and the recruitment cycle, we're going to recommend delaying that until the spring pick at this point. So what that means is that there's 3 elements there. It's the additional service on the city loop on the south leg of that, Charles, and then the evening Sunday service for Loves Park in that area between Landstrom and Harlow Road. So there's no sense in pushing something that we're not going to be able to achieve and ensure is operating on a daily basis. So especially factoring in where we're at from the standpoint of our recruitment ability to recruit and bringing in a new HR person, it's going to be further challenging. So staff's recommending that, and board has no objections. So that's what we will at least plan on for now as a spring implementation.
I think that makes sense on the replacement and the recruiting for new director of that position. How does that look, and kind of what's our interim look at things? Ongoing, and so hopefully that proceeds. We've got some assistance that we're leveraging for staffing on that and making some progress. So can't really give any other update than hopefully soon. Okay. So couple other items. If there's any questions on the fall stuff. The fall service changes, that wouldn't affect any of the additional routes that we added last year. It's just these were additional. These were additional ones, right? So yes, they were more on top of the service that we started. So it was actually 2 more buses a day during our peak, operating about 12 hours a day. Changing that south leg to 30-minute frequency from an hour frequency in Charles from an hour to 30 minutes. So that's the major change. Then the other piece around the Loves Park service was new evening service and new Sunday service, which during fall times, obviously we have a far smaller peak vehicle requirements. So vehicles are fine. Just needs 1 more person. Really amounts to 3 more people per day that we need at least for 8 hours, right? Then we've got those 4-hour amounts. So yeah, we're about 4. the staffing is not there.
Yeah, we know that at least we're 4 full-timers and a couple of part-timers short, and then taking into account some of our other staffing situations we have currently, we need probably 8 total additional operators to be prepared to do that, both between full-time and part-time operators, and what we've also budgeted for the years too. So that's where we feel we need to be. Most important thing is if we're gonna commit to it and do it, that it's their day.
Right.
So,
Makes sense to me.
okay, well, if there's no objection, that's what we plan on. Just a couple other items, just to note from Dan's report, shelters, Dan mentioned, about what we're doing. We still anticipate the shelters that were ordered through the DCO grant to arrive in September. So we'll try to get some of those up before the end of the year, and that's typically a week-long process per shelter. And so, at least, right, Dan, about what per shelter.
Yep.
So, that mixed in with everything else, we hope to get a few of those up. The other piece of that was the ComEd funded bus shelters. Those are still targeted to come in the end of December at this point, so that's a spring project for us.
I
So,
did want to ask on the shelters. I know we've talked about in the past, just the compliance on either state or federal funds of needing to do that environmental review and how onerous that is.
Yeah.
Is there, do we bypass some of that if we have partners who are doing the concrete pad and we're just doing the shelter? Or does that review have to happen regardless of how that breaks out, I guess?
right, so, unless it's a locally funded initiative, it requires that review. And, the city can handle, some of that for us because we're partnering with them in all of these cases to install the pad. But like with the DCO funding, for instance, since they're funding the shelter, they require us to go through the historic preservation approval process for each one of those, identify the sites where we're going to put them, and so that's part of their process. So,
Yeah, okay.
so we have that. The other thing that I was going to mention, just on the facility expansion piece, and just kind of the update on timelines for our fuel lane and our bus wash.
Yeah, so, right now we're fueling at our building up at 625 up our street here out of temporary tank. All the fuel lane, concrete was poured last week. It's got a cure for 2 weeks, so we'll be back to at least fueling over here like normal, August 31st. And then, we're still probably a couple months away from the bus wash. Now all the underground piping installed in there. It's a pretty complicated thing to install, so he's telling us probably 2 months before we're back with the full bus wash. Hoping a little quicker, but the manufacturer of the wash does come out and help with the install, so it's not like our plumbers are just guessing how to put this thing together. But there's a lot of moving pieces to it, so we're hoping for a little less than that. But definitely, before the snow flies, we'll have the bus wash back up. But it will be nice to get back over here fueling. It's a lot of logistic challenges for George's guys, the fuel, because they're 2 blocks away and we still have to dump the money over here, and we spend a lot of time manually washing buses right now too. So once that's it'll be good, and we'll get a little time back for some of our guys to be doing some other stuff.
And then in terms of what you see out front, we anticipate that being wrapped up in September, obviously, well in advance of when the asphalt plants shut down. So once the concrete's all in, sidewalks are all in, then our contractor in partnership or conjunction with the city will do a repaving of the full street section from Jefferson south to State Street, right?
Mm-hmm.
And complete that. So that should be all done by the time the snow flies. So. All right, last item I was just going to mention, I did pass along a note to the board about the ComEd rebate program and what we heard back on that. Unfortunately, the program appeared to be oversubscribed and they ran out of funds, and so there was nothing left to fund our charging infrastructure project. We will be following up with them just to request that they they keep us on the list and consider our application further for any other opportunities, so.
Did I understand right then that they also put forth 27 and 28 funds because there was so much interest now?
That's
So-
what, that's what we were told, right?
Okay.
And so to what level the actual funding was available in 26 and what was in 27 and 28, we really don't know what that was, but they decided to roll it off the other into this year, so.
Sure.
Which is very disappointing. Yes, a lot of staff time and effort and our owners' reps time went into preparing for that, submitting that, but like any other grant application or funding opportunity, nothing's guaranteed until you go through the process. But hopefully we'll follow up on that and see if there's any other elements. All right, moving on then to that's it for, I was just gonna mention in terms of ridership, again, just going back, one other note, we did finish the year, up 3.6, the combined total of fixed route and paratransit was over 1%. We're back at that threshold. Paratransit far exceeds where we were in 2019 prior to COVID. Fixed route gets us about 94%, which we continue to make gains on that and continue to grow. So, that's good progress.
Yeah, and 7 years of an impact and back beyond in some of the numbers I saw, but yeah.
It's encouraging, so. All right, moving on then to the human resources report, the claims history report for July in the packet. So you see the first month of those returns, which are positive, over 13% lower. So, how that fluctuates on a month-to-month basis, so I won't guarantee that that's going to continue. It's a trend. Next, then if there's unless there's any other questions, we can move on to marketing. Marketing E5, the marketing report was included in the packet for review. Orlando, items you want to touch upon in that?
Yeah, just a bunch of community involvement, just getting our free pass programs out there to the groups that really can benefit from them. So a couple of those in there, a couple of those events highlighted, along with some local media attention with our free ride program for students, and then also a new campaign that we're going to be running, kind of an evergreen campaign that can run throughout the year. It's not season dependent, but me and Mike had a discussion about kind of a campaign that can run throughout the industry, which is that Dump the Pump campaign, which is focusing on individuals using public transportation to kind of beat the prices of gas. So we finally got some designs for that. We're going to be hitting them from all of the advertisement space that we have, tail light signs, street side signs, and then also with a landing page. So if you see in the memo, there's the QR code that I created that you can see, and they have some great information on there. You can scan it with your phone to kind of show people why they should use public transportation. We have some great statistics in there, along with some pricing and all the money that you can save. So please check that out. But yeah, that's what we got going on. Busy season for marketing because school's back in session and a lot of community groups meeting again. So a lot more demand for me to come out and kind of market what we do and what we have for them. So yeah,
That's great. Awesome.
Unless there's other questions, we can keep moving. E6 grants. Approval of resolution R2603 authorizing the execution of the Illinois CDP grant application. So, IDOT has put forth, notice of funding opportunity, for demand response vehicles. The CDP is the state contract that we've purchased individually off of or applied through. In the past, we have a couple of vehicles that were eligible for replacements, very large Super Duty vehicle, extended size command response vehicle, and two Super Duties and one medium duty. I'm sorry. Two Super Duties, yes. They're scheduled to be replaced, met the criteria on age on those. In addition to those and replacing those, looking just at our vehicle inventory, looking at our peak demand, we've identified that we should at least expand our fleet by 3 man response vehicles to ensure that we've got an adequate spare ratio to meet demand on a daily basis. So in total, we'll be applying for 5 total medium duty vehicles in our CDP application. application. So, Paula, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, and this is a discretionary type of grant, with the Consolidated Vehicle Program. So we don't know for sure if we have them. It's not like our formula funds like that. So, but we will apply for this, and this allows Mike to execute this when we fortunately get them all. So, yeah. It'd be a good win. It's over $500,000. What, $650,000 pass. So, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity.
I don't know, that's great, great to see.
So if there are none, then you approve the resolution.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution number R 2603, authorizing the execution of the Illinois CVP grant application.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Couple other items under grants, just to make the board aware. September is kind of like, call it grant timber. A lot of things out, relative to grant opportunities. I'd mentioned earlier, started off talking about the bus and bus facility loan program. FTA did release this funding opportunity for both programs. Finally, I've been anticipating this coming out for a while now. Staff will be spending some time over the next several weeks preparing grant application to apply for 8 replacement vehicles for the 8 2013 diesel buses that we have. They're over 13 years old at this point. They're badly in need of replacement. Will be the application will be to replace those with 8 hybrid electric vehicles. We've for this grant application, we'll be partnering with Gillig and indicating that we'll be buying off of one of the available state contracts for that purchase. So we'll be getting that in due no later than September 21st. So that's the first one. We're also going to be applying for an FTA Bus Safety, Accessibility, and Innovation Research Program grant. There's some funding for kind of, as you can see from the title, technology-based solutions to improve safety on the roadway within bus fleets or the bus design. We have a project that we've done some work on here and implemented on a few of our vehicles, our collision avoidance systems. This is a grant opportunity that will allow us to apply for funding to install that technology in all of our remaining vehicles, all our fixed route vehicles and paratransit vehicles. Project that we've outlined within our transportation improvement plan. John Mack, who's with R1PC, is assisting us in the development of that application to submit. And that one's also due in September 28th. So we'll be doing some work to put that one together. We talked about the CVP program, which that's due in September as well. So we've taken care of that one today. We've also received word from the Illinois Department of Transportation. They will be finally releasing their state capital program and the funding opportunity for projects for that. We have a whole host of projects in which we'll be applying for those grant funds, including we'll be submitting a dual application for the replacement of those 8 buses that I mentioned earlier. If we don't get the funding from FTA, then we're applying for it through IDOT as well, so that we ensure that we get funding to replace those this year. So that'll be part of our ask to IDOT, as well as the second, phase 3 of our facility renovation project, which is the renovation of these areas on the administrative side that we had talked about and didn't have enough from the first 2 rounds to accomplish. So that'll be part of the funding. We'll also be applying for expansion vehicles. So as we endeavor to increase frequency across the system, we want to ensure that we have adequate spare ratio and also have enough vehicles to continue to expand. So at this point, we would be applying for at least 6 expansion vehicles to add the fleet to increase it from 41 vehicles up to 49 vehicles. Now, Matt, there you're going to ask where's the other 2 vehicles. If you remember, we have the RAISE grant that's out there for the bus circulator project. There's 2 vehicles that we're supposed to get from that. One of these expansion vehicles, at least one, would be part of that spare ratio for that expansion of the fleet. So that's mixed in there. The RAISE grant, if you recall, originally required a local share. And there were no matching funds that we could use on that from our traditional means of transportation development credits, so it all had to come on local. We planned to use our subsidy from the city of Rockford and then utilize 5307 program funds to supplement that. One other alternative to this is applying through the state capital program and asking for IDOT to fund that local share as well for that project. With escalating costs for that entire RAISE grant project, both the city and the state had contributed a higher local share for the roadway portion. We're asking them to also provide funding for the transit portion, which IDOT didn't provide any funding for the transit portion of the project. So we're asking them to contribute there as well. So that'll also be part of it. Finally, the other item there that we'll be applying for is a reconstruction of our East Side Transfer Center parking lot. When we were out there the last couple of times, you probably noticed it's in bad shape. It's not able to maintain its structural integrity while we've done our bus training out there, and that's principally where we have our state authorized course that we utilize to conduct bus training. And so we need to look at funding a project that stabilizes that site so that we can continue to do bus training out there. So that's also going to be in the mix here. A lot of asks, I won't get them all, but it's part of the process to make sure it continues to be on that roadmap for funding through the state. The one thing I did mention was the RAISE grant. Going back to that, we did receive word from FTA last week that grant approvals in its final stages. It required MOU between FHWA, the highway side, and FTA, the transit side, to include as part of that final grant agreement for the secretary to sign off on. Our indication is that should be done here the next week, and that finally finalized to move forward. So good news there. So that was a lot, but I just want to provide you, these are all due in September. We're going to be working on submitting all of these and ensure that we're in the best possible position to fund our capital program.
And they're all discretionary.
They're all discretionary.
You know,
Correct. So, unless there's any questions, if there's things that you think of beyond that, please, by all means, reach out and I can fill you in on other details. So,
No, great to pursue the options available to us. I know it's a lot of work for applying for all of those and then dividing information that you probably already did once and do it a different way for the next grant. And yeah, I know it's a lot of work. So,
all right. So, with that, then we can move on to the next item on the agenda, E7 safety and training. Included in your packet is the safety and training report for July of 2026. Also included in there were the final totals from fiscal year 2026. The July report, or I'm sorry, the June report. If you remember last month, and Dan had mentioned the maintenance reports weren't finalized, so we needed some data from those final maintenance reports that were part of the safety report to complete. So those are now the updated totals. I can turn it over to Drex, and we've also included this month the end of the year totals for our key performance indicators. And this is a new set of data that's going to be part of the requirement moving forward. So I let Drex detail or provide details on what that data is, what it means, and put some context to how it applies to our programs moving forward. So Drex.
Yes, as Mike said, this is new data that FTA wanted us to start tracking, and it's based on mileage per 100,000 miles, incidents and so forth. And it delves into categories such as failures, injuries, major events, minor events, collisions, injuries, transit worker injuries, assault injuries, and those type of things. They are looking for basically for us to get a 3-year average, running average, and we initiated that this year for the first year. So this is pretty much our baseline numbers, and we'll be adding on to this every month as we progress along to do the running total on it. As of now, there is no published information as far as baselines or expectations. So what I'm anticipating, this will be kind of as a comparison for other agencies along our size, that they can actually at some point in time say, hey, here's what things look like.
Hmm.
So, as more information comes available with that, I'll be happy to share that with you. But this is one we just now launched and to get the data started and kind of see where we are with stuff.
And where's the requirement coming out?
This came to FDA.
It's basically becomes a required trend analysis that we have to keep. Now, the data that is part of our agency safety plan, which is what we have to report on every year and set targets for and monitor is above. That's the FY 26 agency safety plan performance totals year over. So those performance totals, again, that goes back to setting targets and establishing where you're at targets. That goes in our agency safety plan. So this is the information, based on how we did. We reassess those targets on an annual basis. So as Drex and the safety committee conduct their annual review of those targets, when we bring those forward to the board, which should be next month, those will incorporate whether we keep them the same or adjust them. But some of this data then that's part of that is down below. That gets a little bit more clear. So it's another way in which we can monitor, track, and see how we're doing. And then, as Drex said, a way that we can do that trend analysis and do comparisons to other.
If you recall, last year, we actually did make a minor change on our agency safety plan for our goals that were more realistic and aligned with what our actual history had been tracking. So all that's coming along well in line of our expectations.
That'll, as I mentioned, that'll be part of next month's agenda is just the approval of the update to the agency safety plan and those performance targets.
And for these, I mean, would we typically compare to some we've talked about in the past, the Champaign, Quad Cities?
Yeah, I think
South Korea?
when it's based on just rate, right? It's just purely on instance per mile, then you get a lot more apples to apples in your peer areas. So,
Very good.
all right. If there's no other questions, we'll keep moving along then to other business. E8. Item A is award of actuarial services. So a memo included in your packet. As as the board's aware, we utilize our actuarial services to evaluate our pension and review our pension obligation, and as well as the OPEB and the actuary does evaluations that then are utilized by the auditor too, as part of their financial reporting. So went out to market for this, received 5 proposals that were evaluated by the committee. The folks that submitted to that were listed below, the proposers, based on price and fees. The committee identified the lowest proposer in Brett Schwab and Associates as the vendor for approval, or in this case, renewal. And so staff requests the board of trustees approve the award of actuarial services contract to Brett Schwab at $20,500 per year for an initial 3-year term with options to extend the contract for 2 additional years. So I don't, Chad,
I would say that it, just so to remind you that proposals aren't based only on price. Price is just one factor that's determined, and we did a full evaluation of all the criteria, which included past experience, staff, professional staff experience, as well as what they were proposing and their timelines, as well as the price. So.
I'll make a motion to approve the award of actuarial services to Brett Schwab at $21,500 per year for a 3-year term with option to extend.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. All right, we do have executive session, but before we get to that, the next scheduled meeting date, have on the calendar for Monday, September 28th at 3:30.
You guys good? Okay. All right, and we'll go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining matters pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C2 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act. The motion, if we can make a motion to go into executive session.
Second, all in favor?
Sorry, I was already camping out, but no.
Recording?
I'll make a motion to, exit executive session.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. And I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second, all in favor?
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.